Good morning, guys. Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be showing you what I do dealing with a lowered car. Now, I get this question all the time on the channel about how I deal with it. This car has been lowered 1 inch. I use T-Sportline 1-inch lowering springs, and I've got 20-inch wheels, low profile tires. And people ask me all the time about tire rotation with a staggered wheel set. I'll deal with that in a future video, but I get more questions just about how I jack up the car and how I deal with it being so low. For those of you that are unaware, there are really no convenient places to put jack stands under a Tesla. It's a completely flat bottom. You don't want to put anything underneath the battery pack, which is the majority of the floor. A Tesla, between the front and rear axles and the width of the car, is the battery pack. It's a few inches thick and it's the entire bottom of the car. Tesla provides hard points underneath the car with a hole in it for a peg to put as 4 jack points to lift the car. Now, my car being lowered has very little room to work with underneath. So there's not a lot of room. I can fit my jack underneath the car, but there's really not a whole lot of room to work with underneath there. Now, I'm going to show you the products that I use, and you can sort of mix and match and use what you want to use based on your specific situation. Again, my car has been lowered 1 inch, and that's important. If it were at the stock ride height, it would be a lot easier to deal with. But I use a standard 3-ton Pittsburgh floor jack. I got this at Harbor Freight. It has a 3.5-inch minimum height, which that's an important thing to remember. You can get jacks that have a 2.5-inch minimum height, and that would be preferable. When I purchased this jack, I actually bought this jack before I owned the car, so I was unaware that I really could use a lower jack, but in my situation it does work, and I'll get to how it works here shortly. So again, 3.5-inch minimum height Pittsburgh floor jack. This is an aluminum jack, easier to deal with than a steel one. And then these are discount ramps, plastic car ramps. They are 2.5-inch height, and this is Safe Jack jack stand. I actually have 2 of these. I got these discount ramps from eBay. This Safe Jack jack stand set, again, this is one. I have one for each side. I got from Teslarati. You can go ahead and check them out. I don't have a link to the discount ramps. I just got them on eBay. You can just Google low profile car ramps and they'll come up. Again, this was Harbor Freight, and I'll see if I can get a link from Teslarati to order these if you guys would like them. And this is an interesting jack stand for this application, and I'll explain why in a bit. Now, I'll show you what I do here. In my situation, this may seem like a lot of sort of goofing around to get this to work, but there's a method to the madness. Normally you'd have right around 5 inches of height underneath the side of the car, which is enough space to do all of this without dealing with the ramps. But when you lower the car, it becomes a bit of an issue. The way this Safe Jack works, the top comes off here, and what you do is you would lay this on the top of your jack, roll the jack under the car, and then put this peg into the hole at each of the 4 jack points. There's a hole right in front of each rear wheel, behind each front wheel. So you would roll this under the car, and you have the jack pad, you have the top of the jack stand, and then you have this going into the hole at the hard point. You would jack the car up, and once it's up, you would place these legs in position underneath the car. Then you would lower the jack, roll the jack out of the way, and the car is now setting on this jack stand because there's no place to put a jack stand separately underneath the car. Now, again, in my situation, my jack has a little bit more height, minimum height, than you would normally want for this, and my car is lowered. So I have to go through an added step of first rolling the car up on these ramps, which It sounds like a hassle, but it's really not a big deal. I only need to jack the car up once every, I don't know, 5-6 months or so to rotate the tires or to switch to a different set. So first thing is to put a ramp underneath each rear tire. Now, once I've rolled the car forward onto the jack stands, I've now got enough room to put my floor jack along with this Safe Jack jack stand underneath the car. So we take the top of our Safe Jack jack stand, place it on top of the floor jack to put it underneath the jack point of the car here. Once the car is jacked up, you can take each jack stand end here, and put each jack stand end up in place and retain it with the pin. Move the legs down. Then go ahead and lower it down onto the jack stand. So there you have it, and it's a very stable jack stand. Just works wonderfully for this purpose. Got plenty of room to remove the tire, and as far as I know, I believe these are the only jack stands that really work properly with a Tesla. So I love these discount ramps. You can get them in a couple of different heights. Mine are 2.5 inches high, and I enjoy my Pittsburgh floor jack. I will say that if you don't need to use the ramps if your Tesla is stock ride height has not been lowered, and if you get a 2.5 inch minimum height floor jack. You can get them from Amazon. I've seen them on eBay. You don't need the ramps then. You can use that low floor jack with these Safe Jack jack stands, put it right under the car, jack it up, and go ahead and support it that way. I've got two, so that way I can do both sides, and I can then rotate my tires easily. So for those of you that have been asking, that's how I jack up my car. That's how I rotate tires. It works great. If I'm just pulling one tire off, I may just jack it up and just leave the jack under there, but that's really not safe. It's best to have it's best to have a jack stand to hold it up, not just the hydraulic floor jack. So anyway, thanks guys for tuning in. I really enjoy sharing with you guys my journey and how I deal with living with a Tesla day to day. It really is a great car. It has its idiosyncrasies though, for sure. But if you just know a few things, if you do a little bit of research, they're great cars to own and work on. And so yeah, go ahead and go on eBay, discount ramps if you want to get some of these plastic ramps. They're a 6,000 pound capacity. These are Safe Jack jack stands. Again, I got mine through Teslarati, and my floor jack I got from Harbor Freight, although to reiterate again, you're going to want, my floor jack has a 3.5 inch minimum height. You're going to want to look for a 2.5 inch minimum height floor jack, and that way you don't need to deal with ramps at all. So thanks guys, have yourselves a great day. Take it easy now. Bye-bye.